We keep hearing the same blatant lie out of the American government. America has a massive trade deficit with Canada. Canada's taking advantage of the United States. It sounds scary, it sounds dramatic, and it sounds like Canadians are draining American wealth. But like most stuff that comes out of the orange guy's mouth, it's a lie. When you look at the real numbers, the full numbers, the entire claim collapses. I'm Pierre Shields, this is North of MAGA. Today we're going to explain the lie. There'll be some numbers involved, so MAGA probably won't be able to follow anyway. A few things I want to talk about before we get into it. Thank you so much for your kind comments. Thank you for your corrections. I read every comment. If I get something wrong, I look it up and I try to correct on the next videos. Something else, I have a friend from BC that's been putting in the comments that I talk a little bit too quickly. So I am going to be channeling my inner Tyler Bucket to try to make this a little bit slower. But anybody who knows me knows that once I get excited, I talk really fast. Oh, something else I want to, sorry, I'm already doing it. Something else I want to talk about. I'm wearing my grandpa sweater today because it's cold. It's really cold. It's Canada cold. All right, let's take a look. The talking point versus reality. Let's start with what the White House keeps repeating. America buys more from Canada than Canada buys from the US. America is losing. Okay, here are the real numbers, 2024 trade numbers. The US imports from Canada $411.9 billion. Canadians import from the US $349.9 billion. Also a high number, but we see that the American number is higher. So that's a $62 billion difference. Now, before we go on too far, we're going to go check some lies. Watch this.
We're subsidizing Canada to the tune of over $100 billion a year.
Why are we supporting a country, $200 billion plus a year? Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. Lumber, we have massive fields of lumber. We don't need their dairy products. We have more than they have. We don't need anything.
The United States is subsidizing Canada.
That's very unfair.
Okay, so yep, America buys more from Canada than Canada buys from the United States. Let's see what's really up. The myth dies. If Canada had 335 million people, the same population as the United States, then absolutely, we'd be buying far more American products. We would. Now, here's what MAGA never mentions and probably doesn't even know. Canada's population is 41 million. These are approximate numbers. I know in the comments people are going to correct me, but I'm really rounding. So Canada's population, 41 million. The US population is 335 million. So there's approximately 8 times more Americans than there are Canadians. Again, MAGA, I'm doing this as slow as I can, but there's going to be numbers. So now we're going to do something that Washington never does. We're going to correct the numbers per person, per capita, if you will. When you adjust the population, the trade deficit flips upside down. Here's what the average person buys. Each Canadian buys $8,534 worth of US goods every year. Let's round it, $8,500. Each American buys $1,229 worth of Canadian goods per year. So we buy $8,500 each from American companies. You Americans buy $1,200 worth of Canadian goods every year. Tad of a discrepancy. What does this mean? This means that every Canadian buys 7 times more American products than every American buys Canadian products. It's not a US trade deficit. It's not a loss. Contrary to what the orange guy has been screaming, America has a huge, huge trade advantage. Not only that, we don't do much transforming in Canada. I mean, basically, we're sending raw material to the States where it gets transformed and a whole bunch more value is added to it. So the numbers don't just disprove the lie, they reverse it. The real math. Now let's talk about the facts of the trade deficit. How much of an advantage is the trade deficit for Americans? Because yes, it's an advantage for Americans. Let's look at the numbers. The per capita difference is $8,534, which is what Canadians buy from Americans, minus $1,229, which is what Americans buy per capita from Canadians. That's a difference of $7,305 per person. So if Americans were to purchase per capita the same as Canadians, they would buy $7,305 more from Canada. That means that every American, on average, gets $7,305 more benefit out of the relationship than every Canadian does. That's a pretty big number. So the average American is benefiting from $7,300 more that we purchase from your companies than your population buy from our companies. So let's go a little bit further. So now let's multiply that average of $7,305 per person by the number of Americans in the United States. So there's 335 million Americans multiplied by $7,305. So America is benefiting by $2.447 trillion in this relationship. $1 trillion. It's not a rounding error. It's not a slight advantage. It's not Canada exploiting the United States. This is Canada subsidizing American affordability, American consumer goods, American agriculture, American manufacturing, American metals, American machinery, and American supply chains. Now, I see in the comments that some people get upset that, I'm talking so much pro-Canada and putting the United States down and so on. Canadians are never pro-Canada. We're very, very quiet in our patriotism. So I think it's about time we start promoting ourselves and standing up for who we are. This is not to put any Americans down. This MAGA, of course, yes, but not Americans, not true Americans. So imagine being told you have a $2.4 trillion advantage in a relationship and then claiming that you're the victim. You're the victim. Makes no sense. Did Canada ever even complain about the American advantage? What the numbers really show. Let's state the facts clearly. Canada is not exploiting the United States. Canada is not draining the American economy. Canada is not a big importer of fentanyl to the US. God. Canada is not running away with American money. In reality, the opposite is true. The United States is a primary beneficiary of US-Canada trade. When you factor in population size, Canada buys American goods at one of the highest per capita rates in the world. Highest in the world. Canada disproportionately supports American industries and exporters. Canada props up US supply chains, energy security, and consumer pricing. And yet, the political messaging insists on the opposite. It's amazing, and I haven't seen any politicians fight back against these numbers. We're your number one client. Craziness, absolute craziness and insanity. I guess, repeat a lie often enough, people will believe it. Get your news on Facebook. Why is this happening? Because the narrative is convenient. Because every trade war needs a villain. Because Canada is cheating us. I'm talking fast again. Because Canada is cheating us plays better on television that Canada is our best customer. But the numbers don't lie. The United States enjoy a colossal population-adjusted trade advantage, one worth trillions. Conclusion. So no, the United States is not being taken advantage of by Canada. Far from it. It's the United States that gains the most from this relationship. And the data makes that clearer than ever. If you want more videos like this, where we break down the numbers and not the slogans, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who still thinks Canada is the problem. God, Canada is not the problem. I'm Pierre Shields for North of MAGA. Come check my merch. Thanks for spending time with me. Go play outside.